Hi guys and gals, it's Mindwiseman aka Maverick Outdoors, and as you can see I've struck up a fire on the riverbank of a River Thames island that I'm camping out for the night on. Once the fire's died down, I'm going to roast some potatoes in their jackets in some tin foil and have a midnight feast. But you might be able to see that white board I found in the bushes round the other side of this island I'm camping on for the night. So that was quite handy, because obviously it's a reflector, and just over that direction, basically it's about 2 foot away, is my basher, so it's reflecting the heat in, so it's nice and cosy and warm. It's not that actually cold, too cold tonight, but it's just making it comfortable. So I've mainly struck it up so I can have some yummy food, baked potatoes in their jackets, and so I'll most probably catch you at daylight in the morning. Case we are, it is scheduled to maybe rain this evening and tomorrow morning, so I'll put the shelter up to protect the fire pit. The old goose grass will dry it up. I mean, that'll go up, combust really easy once I put the old fire steel on it. These are around the edge of the fire pit, mainly so they're drying out from last night, but I'll mostly put those on the fire later. But I've got enough stuff now. Kindling, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 and stage 4 wood, and say set up the fire pit shelter just in case it does rain, because I'm going to be sort of up till about 1, 2 in the morning. This over round here, round that branch, and as you can see the other corner that slopes down, just a bungee cord, and on the other side, that's what I did before, a little notch. I might reinforce that later, but at least it's up and running, ready to take effect from now, but I might just reinforce that again in a little while. And then up here is this bit of stick that I procured from last time, keep it up camouflage against another branch, and then of course it's paracorded all the way down. As you can see I've got a roaring fire, but you might see it reflecting in the background there, and what I've done is I've just put on the corner as a barrier against the breeze, but also to reflect the heat over, one of those foil thermal medi blankets. And there's a bit of greenwood pole which I've just simply tied it there at the top and the bottom, then it goes across into that corner, and you can see there's a green stick there. It's just folded round it and then straight over to here on this final stick here, where I've just fastened it down that bit of green stick, fastened there, and it's a little bit of Bushcraft central heating. But because I decided this time, it's the first time on this particular fire pit that it's been raining, so obviously I put this tarp up just to protect it. Usual thing, bungee cord there, all the way across, bungee cord up to that branch, and then down to this rear corner, 2 extendable basher poles, one here, one over there, and then just bungee corded down, as you can see, bungee corded down here, so I've got a slope. So face on from the front edge of my basher shelter, personal shelter, to the left, got the prepped wood, and then to the right is the fire pit, which, as I say, has been dug before, but I rearranged it a little bit so it was in situ to the shelter, so that if I'm underneath it, you know, I don't get wet, and plus as well to the side, on this side, the fuel doesn't get wet. By the time I got here last night it was just starting to get dark, and by the time I'd actually pitched up the tarp and sorted everything out, you know, it was dark. It was about 9:30, 9:45, so just getting dusky, and all the foliage around here, it all had surface water on it because of the rain. It wasn't soaked right the way through. I was going to start a fire, but by that time I was getting really hungry, so I thought it was going to take ages to have got the fire going. So I just cooked something up on the one-man stove. Had all this wood, it was literally just a pile all over here. So I sorted it out. That stuff is sort of reasonably damp. I could do some feather sticks, but you know, I've got loads of dry kindling. But I went for a walk about a quarter of a mile from where I am, and I found this drier stuff, which is just gonna blast up straight away, and all this stuff here. While this is going, there's a little bit of reasonably dry stuff there. This I'll just place around the edges. You can see it's all rotten, but it's all very sort of fibrous and dusty, so that'll ignite really easily. So once I've got the fire going later on with kindling and first and second stage type of wood, then while that's actually kicking up a heat, I'll put some of the stuff that's not quite fully dry around the edge. It will dry it out, and then I'll have a fire going, because I've got some Chinese chicken thighs which I wanted to cook up last night, and I checked them earlier on and they're still cool, because I put them in a stainless steel mess tin. They were frozen when I left my house. Plus I've got 3 nice large size baking potatoes, 2 for me and 1 for that little lazy dog who's lying clear. It looks like it's going to be a clear evening tonight, so there might be less chance of there being any rain. So what I've done, you can see I've disconnected from that corner and the other corner, these 2 corners, folded it in half. Then as you can see, I'm just going to lower that down so the stuff is still in situ, and then just bring this over just to here. So our batch of poles are just at an angle here, just there. So it just feels nice for it to be sort of open, and if it does rain, then obviously I can just fix all that back up again quite easily, because everything is sort of half in situ. Right, so it's coming up to just gone 8 o'clock, so I've got about a good hour and a half of daylight until it starts to get dusky. So I'm just going to knock up the fire now, and hopefully get back to you guys when I'm cooking my Chinese chicken and jacket potatoes. Bring it on. Okay, this wood here I knew was the sort of dampest. I've been picking bits out, but you can see got the fire going, and there's a good draw. You can tell by the smoke it's going straight up. But what I've had to do is some of the stuff that's on the top half that's sort of threaded, it was, you know, it wasn't going to take straight away, so I've sort of laid it up so the heat underneath would start to dry it out, and lo and behold, it's now started to take. So all this stuff here was just a little bit damp. If I'd have actually used that as the first stage wood, first or second stage, straight away, it wouldn't have actually taken. So I'm going to continue. Oh, you can see now it's really right, that wood's taken now, you can see. So what I'm going to do is get some of that more damper stuff over there, and then lay it up again as that sort of settles. It will obviously crumble down into the charcoals, into the coals, and get it going, ready to cook some food. Okay, it's really taken quite well, and if you can see there, I've just done a really crude reflector. So rather than having the wood down there, I thought, oh, what I'll do is, while this is kicking up, just really crude, just a couple of uprights, and just laid it sort of a mesh, horizontal then vertical, and there's enough heat coming over here, so by the time I've used up some of that, little bit of that, this will be ready to take, just like that slightly damp stuff that was on the higher point that was drying out. So this will be just as dry, and I can feel it now. It's getting just enough warmth. So within the next half hour, yeah, I would say about the next half hour, that's going to be okay to do a wigwam fire. Then I can start to lay them horizontally, and then the coals will be more appropriate to stick under my grid for the chicken. And then of course in the embers and the coals I'll put the jacket potatoes. So it's coming on nicely, and we've still got plenty of daylight. It's just come up to 9 o'clock, so yeah, it's a nice Monday bank holiday evening. There we got 3 jacket potatoes. There's one right in the middle there, you can see, just about, all wrapped up in foil, nearly about 2/3 of the way through cooking. And then the Chinese chicken cooking on this little recessed area. All ready to scoff in about 15 minutes time. There's been no rain. There isn't any prospected rain in this part of southern UK, considering that this is the coldest March, end of March, beginning of April on record for the past 50 years. So it's expected to be about -2 tonight at its coldest. And if there's a wind chill factor that kicks in, and I reckon it's going to double that to sub-0 even further, maybe to sort of -4, -5, I would think. So I'm thinking of procuring some of this deadwood. Some of that's a little bit live, but all this stuff here, that's all dead. Stacks of it over there like kindling. First stage wood, coming up to second stage. Break some of that off as well, because I'm considering actually digging a fire pit somewhere down here. I'm going to go walk about now and see if I can find anything in the woods that can act as a screen. I did find a massive great big bit of white formica sort of laminated plywood here about 2 years ago, and I had it just there. One of the first videos I did, and if you watch that one you'll see the effect that gave. It was a really brilliant reflector, but that old breeze is kicking up now, so I'm going to go and have a walk about and see if I can find anything that's going to act as a screen. I'm going to try and prep some wood and dig a pit. So yeah, it's certainly affecting, you know, when you're used to being outdoors and you notice the seasons, you know, give or take a few weeks, there might be a slight difference each year. But yeah, it's really made a difference, especially this year with this cold spell. Say nothing's growing around here, but luckily enough, to say the deadwood. I've mentioned about white willow before. White willow grows, its main habitat is around waterways, the majority of its growth. So rivers, streams, that sort of thing. But it's classified as not a very good firewood. You know, it's supposed to spit, and you know, as far as willow, the top of the list, or even halfway down the list, is considered not a good wood. But you know, there's loads of it around when you're canoeing on the rivers and what have you. You know, if white willow's there, and I've never really had any problems with it. You know, I found it's for me, I find it's a sort of a medium burner. It's not as solid as maybe oak or you know, slow burning or something like oak, but it certainly is better than nothing. I find it sort of an average burner really, and once it rots and then dries off, even if it does get soaking wet, it dries out easily in comparison to maybe other type of denser woods. So you know, it's got its pros and cons, but I find it's alright. So I mean, that's the majority of wood I'm going to be procuring. But this is what I found on my travels. A broken garden seat. You can see it here. That's where it's broken, and I ripped this, I cut this off of another chair because it was all flapping about. Now, of course that's mesh, but I'm just going to see if I don't have time to actually build a reflector with sort of uprights of wood and then cross members going across, then I might try and utilise that, or at least have this as the frame and just try and lean sort of uprights against it, thick bits of wood. But the main aspect is not for me to procure stuff and make the reflector and windshield so I get the heat coming this way, but it's basically digging a fire pit, procuring the wood, making sure I've got the wood, at least starting the fire, and then I'm going to take it from there. Okay, so I've procured some of the wood, just started to dig just a perimeter here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bank all that soil up to make a reflector. One fire pit and a windbreaker reflector. So this was one of the bits of metal that was still in it that obviously fixed into the framework of the chair itself. So I pressed the other end. I didn't have to straighten it, I mean it's curved on the other end. I pushed that in, made a stick, put that through this sort of hemmed in tube, which obviously must have been the corner of where I suppose you sit there and the backrest is there. So I just whittled down a stick, inserted that through that piece of material, so that's quite sturdy. And then on this bit, made 3 slits, one there, one there, one there, whittled down the stick a bit, fed it through, dug it in, and voila. When the breeze does kick up a little bit, it comes behind me, so of course I was going to maybe put the fire just there, so that any heat could actually travel along the length of the tarp. But then if it smokes up, then of course I'm going to get smoked out underneath the tarp. So I thought if the breeze is actually going this way a little bit, whatever heat is here, I can sit on my tripod seat, easy access to the wood, get some more if I need it. And then the fire's not going to be too close. I mean, I'm going to have the flames, if anything, not higher really than the maybe halfway up the reflector there. But the wind is actually, I've actually taken it off centre because it's not long enough to go all the way around to sort of there. Because the breeze is sort of kicking up this way a little bit, I thought, well, I want it to reflect the heat into me this way, into me, but also I don't want the flames to blow that direction. So I thought if I just tweak it a bit, I've got as much reflector as possible from that piece of material, and plus as well not too much of a breeze, actually burning fuel quicker and also maybe blowing the heat sort of that direction. So reasonably it's sort of going to come diagonally to me, and then of course when I fall asleep, if it's still going, there's Kashi, you're asleep Kashi, you're a little kip. She's obviously where I'm going to be later. Any heat that's left will sort of come diagonally across because my body will be central to the centre of the... You can see I rearranged the piece of material actually against the direction of the wind, because when it was in position in its original place, the flames were sort of blowing over that way. So hence bringing it to block the breeze, which is the majority of the time is coming this way. You can see the flames are still quite active because of course the breeze is getting a bit of a sort of circular current to then draw the smoke off, but it's not actually blowing the heat that direction. It's obviously giving it a lot of life in the flames, so I can actually feel the warmth. I can just feel that. It's a nice just gentle warmth. Makes all the difference. I wasn't expecting maybe to do a fire, but it's made all the difference. Okay, so I'm getting a bit of a heat at 11 o'clock at night, so it's doing the job. Lowered the tarp a little bit to cut the breeze off from channeling into my bivvy space. So yeah, it's all good. Bit of bash of central heating. And the next thing I'll see you in the morning. See, there's a bit of a breeze, so I lowered that end of the tarp, which then allowed the sort of whatever breeze which is coming that direction to go over the top, which in turn enabled me to get the majority of the warmth that I wanted to get from the fire pit sort of coming over literally towards me this direction. So any warmth that did come over also got trapped under the tarp and brought the thermals into me here. But if I was going to be here for longer, then I'd have done the done thing. Where the piece of material is, that upright just there and the upright just here, I'd have had them leaning back and I'd have had sort of bars of wood going across just like there. Now that's really, really crude. Going to be here for longer, I'd have actually done the done thing. I would have invested time. Once I knew where the breeze was coming, you know, sort of put some uprights and then horizontal logs going across to about so high, and then it would have been the sort of a proper bushcrafty type of reflector. But I didn't want to invest time in cutting bits to size and all that sort of thing, so I thought, right, use the mud as a little bit of a bank to place the logs on. If I'd have wanted to, I could have even made a mortar out of the soil that was dug out of the pit, mixed it with some water and sort of blocked in and actually cemented in some of the logs, you know, if I really wanted it as a long-term job. I just wanted to see what I could procure here on the island and just do a temporary job that did the job without getting too technical about it. So I know there's loads of different ways that I could have done it, but that did the job for me, just the 1-off fire pit last night.